the snap settings in your drafting settings are worked very closely with your grid settings. So when you're working with snap and grid, you tend to combine the two. I'm going to go down to the status bar here to the drafting settings. I'm going to right click over snap and go to settings on the shortcut menu there. Snap is on and grid is on. So make sure that both of these boxes are ticked like so. We're going to change the grid X spacing here. We're going to change that to 100 like so. I'm going to press the tab key and that updates the grid Y spacing automatically to the value you've put in the X spacing. Snap X, I'm going to change these to 50 and then tab like so. So snap X, snap Y, 50 and 50, grid X, grid Y, 100 and 100. I'm going to OK that now, and you'll notice the grid has changed, and look, very erratic crosshair movement. That's because I'm able to snap to each part of the grid. So this is a bit like using your object snaps, but what I can do now is I can actually physically move this object. I'm going to make sure that my 3D object snap is on, or do I need 3D object snaps? Not right now. I'm in a top view. I'm going to switch that off. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move this just purely using grid. No object snaps for the position of the object when it comes to rest. I will need an object snap to start though. So 2D drafting and annotation workspace, home tab on the ribbon, modify panel and move. I'm going to select the 3D object, left click and then right click to confirm, and then it asks for a base point. I'm going to go for that center snap there, and as I move now, can you see I'm snapping to the grid? But what I really like is I can see that grid through my 3D object. So I'm going to come down here, get a grid point there, click, and that's now moved. As you can see, I've got a grid there, and I've got a grid there. So if I now go to the top view, can you see how that's lined in with the grid? It's just one off. Can you see that? So I need to move it along by one. So all I need to do is move again and utilize the snap and the grid. So I'm going to select the object this time, click, like so, then go to move again on the modify panel and use my snap there, and I just need to snap that down. So as I move around on the grid, I'm now lined in, click there, and if I now look at the top view, you can just see there that it's moved by one along to the left. Now this is a really fiddly way of doing things. What you would do there is you would utilize coordinates. That would be the better way of doing it. Because obviously it's kind of difficult there, as you can see, to move 3D objects using snap and grid. Ideally, what I need there is a different visual style. If I go to view and change my visual style to 2D wireframe, this one here, now I can really see where I'm going and what I'm doing. So I go back to the home tab, I go back to move, select my 3D object, right click to confirm. I want that center point there and I want it on that grid point. Now I might need to zoom in a bit here, but as you can see, look, there's the snap point there, click, that's moved exactly onto that grid. So now when I come up here and go to the top view, now that's really erratic. So I'm going to roll back on the wheel. It's a little bit quicker that way. Click on top, and as you can see, that's lined in with the grid using the snap settings in your drafting settings.